Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Welcome, everyone, to our deep dive into the Bhagavad Gita, the Song of the Lord. You've given us Sir Edwin Arnold's English translation, and we're excited to dive into it with you, explore its ancient battlefields, philosophical debates, and divine revelations, see what we can uncover.
It's a fascinating text.
Yeah.
It really has captivated readers for centuries.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just a religious text,
Yeah.
It's a philosophical and literary masterpiece.
Yeah.
It speaks to the human condition in a way that transcends time and culture.
Absolutely. And to think, it all starts on a battlefield. We're dropped right into this epic conflict between two sets of cousins, the Kauravas and the Pandavas. And we find Prince Arjuna, a warrior on the side of the Pandavas, facing a moral crisis that I think a lot of us can relate to.
Oh, yeah. His dilemma is so vividly portrayed. In the text,
Right.
you're a skilled warrior, dude-bound to fight. But on the other side of the battlefield stand your family, your teachers, the people you've revered your whole life.
That's heavy.
That's exactly the predicament that Arjuna finds himself in.
Yeah. It's more than just pre-battle jitters. The text describes his physical turmoil, like his hair standing on end, skin burning, his bow slipping from his trembling hand.
Yeah. He's questioning the very point of victory,
Right.
if it comes at the cost of his loved ones' lives.
A victory soaked in the blood of his kin.
He says he would rather renounce everything, live a simple life, than achieve that kind of victory.
And that's where it gets really fascinating, right? The Bhagavad Gita doesn't shy away from these tough questions.
No.
It grapples with the moral complexities of violence, the conflict between duty and personal feelings,
Yeah.
the weight of responsibility.
Right.
And into this turmoil steps Krishna, not just as Arjuna's charioteer, but as a spiritual guide.
Right.
It's intriguing to me how Krishna doesn't offer simplistic solutions or try to sugarcoat the reality. Instead, he launches into this profound discourse
He does.
on the nature of the self, the universe, and the path to liberation.
It's like he's peeling back layers of reality,
Yeah.
revealing these deeper truths that challenge Arjuna's assumptions and ultimately lead him to a completely different understanding of his situation and himself.
One of the first things that Krishna addresses is this idea of the soul's immortality.
Right.
He tells Arjuna that the physical body is temporary, like
Yeah.
a garment that we shed,
Right.
while the soul is eternal, unchanging.
Yeah.
How do you think this concept might impact someone facing a life or death situation like Arjuna?
It reframes the whole conflict.
Mm.
If death is not the end,
Right.
if the soul persists beyond the physical body, then the stakes of the battle take on a whole new meaning. You're forced to consider the bigger picture, the idea that your actions have consequences that extend far beyond your immediate circumstances.
And then Krishna goes on to explain these two seemingly different paths to spiritual liberation,
Right.
Sankhya and Yoga.
Yeah.
Could you unpack those a bit for us? What are the nuances of these paths? And are they truly as different as they initially appear?
Sure. So Sankhya is the path of knowledge, understanding the true nature of reality through contemplation and discernment. And Yoga emphasizes disciplined action, meditation, control of the senses.
So one is about knowledge,
Right.
the other about action.
Yeah.
But I sense there's more to it than that.
Oh, absolutely. Krishna points out that these paths aren't mutually exclusive. They actually converge, leading to the same goal, liberation from the cycle of death and rebirth.
Okay.
Two sides of the same coin, both essential for a complete understanding of the human experience.
So it's about finding a balance
Right.
between wisdom and action, understanding and embodiment.
You guy.
But this idea of action and inaction
Yeah.
that Krishna talks about, it seems a bit paradoxical. He tells Arjuna that true renunciation isn't about ceasing all activity, but about acting without selfish desire, performing one's duty in the world without being attached to the outcome.
It's a subtle but profound concept. Krishna is challenging the notion that withdrawal from the world is the only path to spiritual growth. He's saying that true liberation comes not from escaping our responsibilities,
Right.
but from transforming the way we engage with them.
So it's not about becoming passive or indifferent, but about finding a way to act in the world
Yes.
without getting entangled in the web of all of our desires and attachments.
Exactly.
That's a tall order.
It is. And this actually leads us to another key teaching in the Bhagavad Gita, the concept of the threefold starting ground of action.
Okay.
Krishna explains that our actions arise from three sources: knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower, which we might interpret as the mind.
That sounds a bit abstract.
Yeah.
What does he mean by that? And how does this idea connect to the concept of detached action?
Think of it this way.
Yeah.
Our actions are shaped by our understanding, our perceptions, and the state of our mind. If our knowledge is flawed, or if our mind is clouded by desire and delusion, our actions will reflect that. But if we cultivate wisdom, clarity, and the sense of detachment, our actions will naturally become more aligned with our true purpose.
So it's about recognizing the power of our minds to
Absolutely.
shape our reality. And by transforming our inner world,
Yes,
we can transform our actions in the outer world.
exactly.
That's a pretty empowering idea.
It is, and it leads us to one of the most fascinating and frankly practical teachings in the Bhagavad Gita,
Okay.
the three gunas.
Oh, yes.
These are fundamental qualities,
Yeah.
or energies that permeate all of existence, including our own minds and actions.
I remember reading about the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas.
Right.
But I have to admit, I found it a bit hard to grasp how these concepts apply to everyday life. Could you break it down for us a little?
Sure. Imagine them as three forces that are constantly interacting, influencing everything we do. So sattva is associated with purity, wisdom, and peace. It's the force that brings clarity, harmony, and a sense of connection to something greater than ourselves.
So sattva is like the light, the clarity
Yeah.
that allows us to see things as they truly are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then there's rajas, the force of passion, energy, and action. It's what drives us to achieve,
Yeah.
to create,
Right.
to pursue our goals.
Right.
But rajas can also lead to restlessness, attachment, and a constant craving for more.
Yeah, it's like a double-edged sword. It can be a source of great creativity and drive, but also lead to anxiety and dissatisfaction.
Precisely.
Okay.
And finally, there's tamas, the force of inertia, darkness, and ignorance. It manifests as laziness, apathy, delusion, and a tendency to cling to old patterns, even when they no longer serve us.
Tamas is like that force that drags us down,
Right.
that clouds our judgment, and keeps us stuck in negativity and inertia.
You got it. Now, here's the key. These gunas are always in play, constantly shifting and influencing our thoughts, our feelings, and actions. Understanding the gunas is about becoming more self-aware,
Right.
recognizing which force is dominant in a given situation.
So it's not about eradicating rajas or tamas altogether,
No,
but
no.
about becoming more aware of their influence
Right.
and cultivating more sattva in our lives.
Exactly.
Right.
The Bhagavad Gita doesn't say don't be passionate or don't ever rest. It's about finding a healthy balance, recognizing when rajas is fueling our creativity and when it's leading to burnout, or when tamas is providing much-needed rest and when it's keeping us stuck in a rut.
So we've got these three gunas constantly influencing us.
Yes.
And then we have Krishna emphasizing the importance of acting without attachment to results.
Right.
How do these two concepts relate to each other?
This is where it gets really interesting. When we understand the gunas, we can start to see how they influence our motivations and attachments. For example, if we're acting primarily from rajas, we might be driven by a desire for recognition or reward. But if we can cultivate more sattva, we can act from a place of clarity, purpose, and a deeper understanding of our role in the grand scheme of things.
It's like the gunas provide a framework for understanding the forces that drive our actions.
Right.
While the concept of detached action offers a way to transcend those forces and act from a more enlightened place. That's a pretty profound insight.
And it's just the tip of the iceberg. The Bhagavad Gita goes on to explore even deeper layers of reality, including the nature of the divine, the path to liberation, and the ultimate purpose of human existence.
And it does all this through a conversation between a warrior prince
Right.
on the brink of battle and his divine charioteer. You really couldn't ask for a more captivating setting for such a profound exploration of the human condition.
It's an incredible setup.
It is.
And this is just the beginning of Arjuna's journey.
Right.
He's going to delve deeper into Krishna's teachings.
Yeah.
He's going to face even more challenging questions
I bet.
and experience a profound transformation that will forever change his understanding of himself and the world around him.
It makes me wonder what kind of transformation might await us as we continue our own deep dive into the Bhagavad Gita.
Only time will tell. But I have a feeling this journey will be filled with unexpected twists and turns, profound insights, and maybe even a glimpse of the divine.
I'm ready. Let's dive in.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
We left off with Arjuna,
Yeah.
grappling with some pretty heavy concepts. Immortality of the soul, the nature of action, the gunas. But it doesn't stop there. This is where the Bhagavad Gita takes a turn into the truly mind-bending.
You're talking about the divine vision,
Right.
Where Arjuna asks to see Krishna's true form. That part always sends shivers down my spine.
It's one of the most awe-inspiring and frankly terrifying passages in the whole text. Arjuna, this seasoned warrior, he begs for a glimpse of the divine, and what he gets is a vision so overwhelming, so cosmically vast, that it nearly shatters his senses.
The way Arnold describes it is incredible. Countless eyes and mouths, celestial weapons blazing, the three worlds trembling before this cosmic form.
Yeah.
It's a vision that evokes both wonder and terror.
Absolutely. It's this stark reminder that the divine isn't some benevolent anthropomorphic figure.
Right.
This is a force of nature, a cosmic power that transcends human comprehension.
And yet, there's this sense of intimacy, too, of a personal connection between Arjuna and Krishna. Arjuna isn't just witnessing a cosmic spectacle.
Right.
He's experiencing the divine on a deeply personal level.
And that experience completely transforms him. He sees the interconnectedness of all things, the divine essence that permeates the universe. He recognizes Krishna as the source of all creation and the ultimate goal of all spiritual striving.
It's a moment of surrender, of complete and utter devotion. And I think it's this experience that prepares him to receive Krishna's final instructions on the path to liberation.
I think so too. This is the culmination of bhakti yoga, the path of devotion, where the individual soul merges with the divine. Krishna essentially tells Arjuna, surrender all actions to me, make me your sole refuge, and I will free you from all sins.
Right. It's interesting how Krishna doesn't shy away from claiming his divinity.
He doesn't.
He describes himself as the ultimate reality, the source of everything, from the sun and the moon to wisdom and time itself. It's a pretty bold statement, even for a god.
But he's careful to point out that he's not limited by these forms. He's both immanent, present in all things, and transcendent, beyond all forms and conceptions, a paradox that's central to understanding Krishna's nature.
So there's this idea that the divine is both within us and beyond us, both personal and impersonal. How do you reconcile those seemingly contradictory ideas?
That's the beauty of it. The Bhagavad Gita invites us to hold both perspectives simultaneously, to recognize the divine in both the mundane and the extraordinary, in the personal and the cosmic. It's a way of seeing the world as permeated with sacredness.
And it's in this context that Krishna talks about the cycle of creation and destruction, the endless ebb and flow of life and death that governs the universe. It's a bit daunting, to be honest, but he offers a way out of this cycle.
Right, he does. He speaks of a higher, unchanging reality that exists beyond the realm of the senses, a state of pure being, of eternal peace that can be attained through unwavering faith and self-realization. It's not an easy path, but it's a path that's open to anyone who's willing to undertake the journey.
So we've covered Arjuna's dilemma, Krishna's core teachings, the divine vision, the path to liberation. It's a lot to take in. What stands out to you as the most important takeaway from all of this?
For me, it's the emphasis on finding unity amidst diversity.
Okay.
The Bhagavad Gita doesn't offer a rigid dogma or a single path to enlightenment. It presents a multitude of approaches, each tailored to the individual's nature and temperament, whether it's through knowledge, action, or devotion. The ultimate goal is to realize our connection to the divine, and to act in accordance with that truth.
And it's not just about personal liberation, is it?
No, it's not.
Krishna reminds Arjuna that his actions have consequences for the world. He says, for the upholding of thy kind, action thou shouldst embrace. It's a call to act, not just for our own benefit, but for the betterment of all beings.
Yeah, this idea of selfless action, of working for the well-being of the world, it's woven throughout the whole text. It's a reminder that our individual journeys are intertwined with the collective good, and that even seemingly small actions can have a ripple effect.
There's this one line that always sticks with me. The gift lovingly given, when one shall say, now must I gladly give, when he who takes can render nothing back. It's such a beautiful expression of the spirit of selfless giving.
It really is. It speaks to the idea of detachment from the fruits of our actions. We should act out of a sense of duty, out of love, without expecting anything in return. It's a challenging concept, but it's at the heart of the Bhagavad Gita's message.
And it's not just about grand gestures or heroic deeds. Krishna emphasizes that even seemingly mundane actions can be transformed into acts of devotion. He says, whatever thou doest, Prince, eating or sacrificing, giving gifts, praying or fasting, let it all be done for me as mine.
It's about infusing every aspect of our lives, with a sense of sacredness, of recognizing the divine in everything we do. It's a way of bridging the gap between the spiritual and the material, the inner and the outer.
I think that's what makes the Bhagavad Gita so relevant to our modern lives. It's not just an ancient text filled with abstract philosophy.
Right.
It's a practical guide to living a more meaningful and fulfilling life, even amidst all the chaos and complexity of the 21st century.
And it's remarkable that it doesn't offer easy answers or simplistic solutions.
It doesn't.
It invites us to engage in deep reflection, to grapple with the complexities of life, and to find our own path to truth.
The Gita is full of these little nuggets of wisdom that can really spark something in the reader.
It is.
Like when Krishna talks about the difference between true and false knowledge. He says true knowledge involves seeing the interconnectedness of all things, while false knowledge clings to one perspective, as if it were the whole truth.
That distinction is more important than ever in a world saturated with information.
Absolutely.
We're bombarded with different viewpoints, competing narratives, and it's easy to get lost in all the noise.
Right.
The Bhagavad Gita encourages us to develop a discerning mind, to look beyond surface appearances, and to seek a deeper understanding of reality.
And then there's that section about the three gates of hell, lust, wrath, and avarice. It's a pretty stark warning about the dangers of unchecked desires.
The reminder that true happiness doesn't lie in chasing after fleeting pleasures or material possessions. Lasting fulfillment comes from cultivating inner peace, from aligning ourselves with a higher purpose.
But it's not all about renouncing the world.
No.
The Bhagavad Gita also acknowledges the importance of living a balanced life,
Right.
of fulfilling our responsibilities in the world while still striving for spiritual growth.
Remember the analogy of the wise tortoise. It withdraws its limbs for protection,
Right.
but doesn't completely retreat from the world.
Right.
We need to find that balance, to engage with the world in a mindful way, without becoming lost in its distractions. Find that sweet spot between action and contemplation, engagement and detachment.
And the imagery the Gita uses is so captivating.
It is.
So evocative. Like when Krishna describes the soul as a flame that burns away the impurities of action, it's a powerful metaphor for the transformative power of spiritual practice.
Or the image of the lotus leaf unstained by the water that flows over it. It suggests a state of detachment, of inner peace, even amidst the challenges and turbulence of life. A reminder that we can find serenity and clarity, even in the midst of chaos.
There's so much to unpack in the Bhagavad Gita.
There is.
What really stands out to me is the emphasis on self-knowledge.
Yeah.
The idea that the path to liberation begins with understanding our true nature.
And that understanding isn't something we can just acquire intellectually. It requires a deep inner transformation, a shift in our perspective that can only come through dedicated practice and self-reflection.
Another powerful theme is this idea of surrender,
Yes.
of letting go of our ego's need to control everything. Krishna encourages Arjuna to surrender his actions to him, to trust in the divine will. It's a challenging concept for many people, but it's at the core of bhakti yoga.
True surrender doesn't mean becoming passive or giving up our agency. It's about aligning our will with the divine will, recognizing that there's a greater force at play in the universe. It's about trusting in the flow of life, even when we don't understand where it's taking us.
There's this one line where Krishna says, "Give me thy heart, adore me, serve me, cling in faith and love and reverence to me, so shalt thou come to me." It's a call to complete devotion, to make the divine the center of our lives.
And it's not just about blind faith. Krishna encourages Arjuna to question, to seek understanding.
Right.
He says, meditate, and as thou wilt then act. It's an invitation to engage with the teachings, to make them our own through contemplation and experience.
The Bhagavad Gita is a book that can be read and reread throughout life, each time revealing new insights and depths. It's a companion for our spiritual journeys, a source of wisdom and inspiration that can guide us toward a more meaningful and fulfilling life.
And as we delve deeper into its teachings, we might just discover that the battlefield isn't just a metaphor for the external conflicts we face, but for the inner struggles we all experience as we strive to live a life of purpose, clarity, and connection to something greater than ourselves.
You know, it's interesting. We've been talking about this whole idea of withdrawing from the world to contemplate the divine. But the Bhagavad Gita isn't just about that, is it?
It's about bringing those insights back
Mhm.
into the battlefield of our everyday lives, finding that balance.
Right. And there's a section that actually speaks directly to that. Remember those three gunas we were talking about?
Yes.
The Gita actually offers practical advice on how to cultivate more sattva, that quality of purity, wisdom, and peace in the midst of all the rajas and tamas swirling around us.
It does.
I remember passages emphasizing self-control, non-violence, truthfulness, a reverence for wisdom. It's like a blueprint for living with more clarity and purpose.
It is. Think about it. If we're
Right.
constantly reacting from a place of passion or getting bogged down in all that negativity, our actions aren't going to reflect our highest potential.
Right.
But if we make choices that nurture sattva, it's like we're creating the conditions
Mhm.
for a more harmonious and fulfilling life.
And then there's that description of someone who's mastered the gunas, fearless, content, generous, without expecting anything back, able to let go of material attachments. It's like a picture of true freedom.
It is freedom that's not just some abstract concept, but something that manifests in how we navigate the world. Imagine, when we're not consumed by desires or ruled by our impulses, when we're rooted in a deeper sense of purpose, we can act with so much more clarity, compassion, and courage.
It's almost as if the Gita is saying, look, life is a battlefield, no doubt about it, but the real battle is within. Conquer the ego, cultivate wisdom, and you'll be able to face any challenge with grace and resilience.
And the actions that arise from that inner state won't be driven by ego or ambition. They'll flow from a place of alignment with our true selves, from a deep understanding of our unique role in the world.
So we've journeyed from Arjuna's breakdown on the battlefield to a pretty profound exploration of Hindu philosophy. But for our listeners, why should they care about a text that's thousands of years old?
Because beneath all those ancient stories and rituals, the Bhagavad Gita speaks to something universal in the human experience. That search for meaning we all grapple with, that struggle for self-mastery, that yearning for something that transcends the limitations of our everyday lives.
It's almost like it provides a framework, a language for understanding ourselves and navigating life's challenges in a way that leads to greater peace and fulfillment. And it does so with such beautiful imagery and poetic language that it stays with you long after you've finished reading.
It does. And it reminds us that this journey of self-discovery, it's ongoing. There's always more to learn, more to uncover about ourselves and the universe. The Gita can be a constant companion, a source of wisdom and inspiration that guides us toward a life of purpose and meaning.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive into the Bhagavad Gita, I want to leave you with a question.
Okay.
How can you apply this concept of selfless action in your own life? What are the gunas that might be influencing your choices right now? And how can you cultivate more of that sattva, that light of wisdom and peace?
The Bhagavad Gita invites us all to reflect on these questions and embark on our own journeys of self-discovery. So keep exploring, keep questioning, keep seeking those deeper truths that resonate with your soul. Who knows what treasures you might find along the way?